Welcome to GHS AVT. I'm here with our guest, Heath Hinton. How are you today?
Good, good.
So what subject do you teach?
Chemistry mostly. I've had physical science, and in the past I've taught most of the sciences, but definitely mostly chemistry here at Gilmer.
Was there any reason you picked to teach chemistry in particular?
When I was in college, I didn't really love chemistry as much. I ended up studying biology, and I started in engineering, so I didn't realize I was going to end up in as much chemistry. But as I started teaching, it became my favorite class to teach because I really enjoy the labs, and they fit right in with all the other stuff you teach throughout the semester. So it just fit in a lot better, I thought. The biology labs, I always had a little bit of a hard time when I first started teaching, putting them together and getting them to really fit in with what we were doing in the class, except for the dissections. That's always a good one to do. But chemistry just always seemed to fit right in. Physics is pretty good too. I enjoy teaching physics as well. But yeah, I think that's the main reason why I like it the most. I like math. I always like math. So chemistry and physics have a lot of math in them. I love the subject of biology, but I just never really started teaching it very much. I taught it once or twice, and that was about it.
Do any labs stand out for you?
Yeah, you've been in my class. You remember a couple of them. I think the kids usually enjoy the flame test lab. I always liked the Charles Law. I don't know if you remember it real well or not, but the Charles Law lab I always liked because you can go up to the board and type your data in, and immediately it draws a graph for you that either goes to absolute zero or it doesn't, and you know right away whether or not you did a good job. And I've always enjoyed those labs where you all can sort of compete with each other for the best data. When we get into the AP class and in the on-level class, we do the kinetics lab. I don't do it in honors because we don't get quite that far in that semester, and then a lot of those students are taking the AP class, so I don't want to do it twice. But the kinetics lab is good because it's the iodine clock reaction that a lot of people will see on YouTube or something like that, and it's a neat lab where you just sit there and watch a color change occur, and you don't know when it's going to happen. You just have to time it. So that's one of my favorites. We did one this year that I've never done before that worked out really well. Again, if you remember it, it was the one with the spectrophotometer with the blue copper chloride and the aluminum foil. And that was neat because we were actually able to get some good data from something that I just sort of figured out and put together, like the night before, and I wasn't sure it was going to work, but it worked out, so that's always good.
I really like the one where we turned the copper pennies into gold.
Yes, the metal alloy lab. Thank you for mentioning that. That's a good one. I didn't bring one. But no, that's a good one. And you have to actually do it just right. You could burn it or, not do a good job with that one. So that's a good one to test yourself on.
So is there any reason you picked to choose high school to teach?
I definitely prefer high school kids. I enjoy that age. I've always coached, so I enjoy coaching high school. Right now I'm coaching middle school. I've gone back down to my son's playing middle school at Clear Creek, and I'm coaching football. I've been coaching football for 26 years, and I'm coaching middle school for the first time last year and next year because my son's playing there. And so that's the first time I've ever done anything other than high school. I've really enjoyed high school. I like kids your age. You're fun to be around and all those things. So I like the material in chemistry also. So the higher level we could get to in AP or honors, it's fun. I enjoy that. So I think that if I was doing middle school or elementary school, I think that would be one of my issues is I couldn't get quite as far along as I wanted to.
So you mentioned that you planned on doing engineering. When did you start to expect to be a teacher?
Oh, good question. I went into Georgia Tech as a freshman, and I was an electrical engineering major. And it was tough. I was struggling in school, and I was co-oping, which means every other quarter you would work somewhere. And I was working with a bunch of engineers, and I hate to say it, but it just seem like a very fun job. You know, we all had cubicles and you know, little workbenches, and we were soldering or whatever. It just, I kind of like it now when we do Science Olympiad and we do engineering projects. I really like it now. But back then, it just didn't seem like something that was a lot of fun or that I was very successful at and doing well in school and the things that I needed to do. So I changed majors to biology. Wasn't sure exactly what to do with that. Grad school was one option, and I started to look at teaching as another option. And so I went into teaching and then went to grad school later.
So did anyone in particular influence this change?
I really enjoyed in college my specific part of my major, so biology, but then we had one of three tracks, either genetics, microbiology, or environmental. And I went environmental, and the ecology professor, who actually Mrs. May also had a class with when she was at Georgia Tech, he had a big influence on me. He enjoyed teaching. He was sort of almost retired, and he didn't do any of the research anymore. You know, most of the professors are doing research in the labs and trying to write papers and things, and he had gotten past that, and he was really just kind of relaxed and focused on teaching, and it was a fun set of classes that we had with him. We went down to the Georgia Barrier Islands a couple of times to study ecology and do things that were really enjoyable for me. And that sort of got me over the edge of definitely wanting to stay into teaching. When I was younger, I mean, I had like an AP physics teacher I really liked in high school. I had a math teacher in elementary school that I really liked. You know, if you do little password questions, you know what I'm talking about, when you're on a website and they make you do those questions. So her name would be one I would type in as like my favorite teacher or whatever. And that was a math teacher in 4th grade, so I got into math, and when I started to think about just studying biology, I knew that I'd gotten a little bit away from the math side, and when I went back into teaching, I was able to get back into that with doing physics and chemistry teaching, so I appreciated that.
So have any students stood out for you, like throughout your whole career?
Oh yeah, yeah. Every year I've had several that are just really good. Sometimes it's because it's somebody who may have just done everything on their own and you're impressed by them. Sometimes it's because it's somebody who just has similar interests to you. Sometimes it's somebody you didn't get along real well with as a teacher, and you kind of, after the fact, you sort of learn to appreciate them a little more, and they hopefully appreciate you. There's probably 2 or 3 students over the years that I've had that I really did not have a good relationship with in the classroom, but it got better after. They may have failed my class. Not many there. We may just have clashed personalities. And it would be good. You remember them well. Mm-hmm. And it's good if after they leave your class, you end up sort of getting to know each other a little better and kind of understanding, you know, maybe where you went off of track. And you learn from it. You kind of avoid that happening in the future with a similar conflict. So all kinds. You have your best students and your not so best students become the memorable ones. I know that I remember almost all of my students for things like where they sat, what they did, who they were. After about 7 or 8 years, and like I said, it's been 26 now, names are gone. It's hard to remember names, though. I can learn names fairly well, but I cannot remember them a year or 2 later anymore. Those are gone. I'll probably remember yours. You've been in honors chemistry and science Olympiad for at least 2 years, but probably 3. You know, so when you're around someone a little more, coaching, doing more than just teaching that one class, that's really helpful. But when you've had even really good students for a semester, you know, out of 26 years. Sometimes you can't place their name, but you remember them pretty well.
So Lua gave us another question
Oh,
to
boy.
ask, a
Oh,
bit
boy.
off topic.
That should be
Yes.
good. Oh, off topic? Surprise, surprise,
Just,
surprise.
What's your favorite color?
Okay. First of all, I don't think I have one. I've never had one favorite color. I think maybe when I was a kid I said purple, which is a coincidence because now we're at Gilmer. But I will say, I always grew up liking sports teams, so I would like uniforms. I like football uniforms that have only two colors. Usually white is one. So simple, like Alabama, Penn State. I like Georgia Tech, but we have three colors. We have gold and white mostly. I like that. Michigan State. I like dark colors, but all the colors. So like dark forest green. I would rather the burnt orange of Texas than the bright orange of Clemson. I don't like that. I don't like red. I don't like Georgia. I won't root for red. Dark blue is good. Any dark color that's, you know, like navy or maroon. I like maroon a lot. I don't like red, but I like maroon. So I guess that would be my color. And I really appreciate Lily asking such an important question.
So, can you briefly describe the Science Olympiad?
Yeah, this is something that I did not at the level that y'all are doing. When I first started teaching, and I was really struggling at times, you know, busy. We threw a Science Olympiad team together, and so this has been 25 years ago, and I learned a lot about it. I learned to use a lot of the events in class. So maybe not tower building. You did tower, but a little bit. We've done a couple of little engineering projects in physics, which is kind of using that idea. But Write It, Do It is one where you could do on the first day of school where they look at something and write how to do it, and then they switch, and then someone else has to build it from what they wrote. That's a great way of doing technical writing. They have the forensics event that Lily does, and she does well with it, the qualitative analysis. We do that lab. You remember we do that lab in your class. So we identify different chemicals that all look the same with different tests. So I've gotten a lot out of it from the events and using them in class also. But it's got engineering, it's got just pure knowledge, and it's got lab work all in it. It has 15 people, all ages, all types of students. Sometimes you have students that aren't great students in it, but they're good at building things, or they're good at doing lab work, or whatever. You know, whatever. You just need to fill a team. Who knows why? It's just got a little bit of everything for science. There are a lot of other competitions, but a lot of times they're really narrow, and this is a way to do it all. It's an interesting scoring. As you probably learned last year, our team did really well just by participating in some events. For example, the first tower we built was just popsicle sticks and, you know, almost tape. It wasn't, but it was close. And so just getting started is the beginning, and then all of a sudden you get a little competitive about it, and now you're probably on your fourth or fifth, maybe even more towers now, where you're improving them each time, and they're looking better, and they're lighter and more efficient. And so it's that engineering process that, like I said earlier, now I like. When I was a freshman and sophomore, I wasn't quite ready for all the calculus and the different parts of it that you had to do theoretically. But just the idea of kind of designing something and then seeing it didn't work, so maybe we could do this. We went from the regionals last year, air trajectory, we were literally the laughing stock. You know, they were literally laughing at us. And we went, the same people won a gold medal at state less than a month later. So it's got that potential to be that much fun and that helpful. I think it's good for y'all. I think you get a lot out of it. I hope you do too.
Mm-hmm. So another more random question. What
Okay.
kind of music do you like?
Oh, Country mostly. I like country music. I don't listen to a lot of new music of any kind. If something comes up, great. But I usually listen to older. When I first started getting into country music, it was 90s.
Mhm.
So I listen to 90s country a lot. And then I listen to some older rock and roll, like the 70s, a little bit of 80s, and those kinds. I'll listen to a little bit of anything, but mainly country. And when I first got to country music, I was probably a sophomore or junior in high school, and I went to a couple of concerts. One was Clint Black, one was Travis Tritt, and I was hooked. Those guys are so good, and especially Travis Tritt in concert. He still does it. He'll be in Hiawassee this year, and I'll try to go see him. So that was what really got me into music, was the 90s country group.
Nice. So, last question. Do you have any advice for students that will be taking your class?
Yeah, like chemistry. Sure. The main thing, and we were talking about this today, I talked to Dr. Gifford a lot, in the hall, Mr. Speece, Mrs. May, but Dr. Gifford and I teach the same thing a lot of times. So we have a group that, we work together and talk about what we're going to test on, what we're going to do each day, stuff like that. And we were just talking today about how some of our students don't like to not know what to do, not know how to do something. They learn it the first time and they don't understand it, and they really struggle with just that fact that they don't get it. And that's what I want to sort of correct. If you're coming into chemistry or physics, you're gonna have tough questions that you just don't get. But most of the time, like a lot of times, I'll teach almost everything in a couple of days, and then we still have maybe a week and a half or longer to get ready for a test. So we have plenty of time to go back over it, go back over it, go back over it. And so if the students can quit thinking they have to be perfect right from the beginning and accept the fact that they may be clueless for a little while and they may struggle and they may get the wrong answers for a little while. When you get the wrong answer and you do something wrong, usually that's how you learn, because you say, oh, well, I'm not going to do that next time. And then all of a sudden you're left with only the right answer. So getting students to understand that and accept that on a given day they may not feel comfortable, but that if they give it a chance and don't give up, they'll learn it and they'll do a lot better, and they'll really learn something instead of just simply kind of, I don't know, just already know it, really. I mean, if you already know it, what good is it to spend time on? So, and that's another thing that Science Olympiad helps me with. I had to help try to get these other students that do the different events to code robot and electric vehicle. I don't know anything about coding. So I got to get on YouTube and start watching that stuff and try to figure it out. And then I'm learning again, like when I was a student. And I have fun with that now that I'm older. And I see you all sometimes not have fun with that, and I wish I could. Trust me, when you get older, you'll like this. You'll like the part of struggling with something, and then the feeling you get when you do better at it and start to figure it out. It's more rewarding than if it was easy.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all I have to ask. Is there anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. I enjoyed it. I'm glad to talk to you. It's been fun.
Well, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And thank you everybody for watching. This is GHS AVT.